Jalen Ramsey or Dante Fowler there pretty well dominated the Vikings offense. So that will be cause for concern. I mean, everybody looks at the one drive that the Vikings had against Denver with their starting offense against Denver's starting defense and goes, okay, Cousins is going to make all the difference. This could be 98 all. No, I mean, it's one drive, and, you know, there were several very nice plays. I was mostly impressed by the blocking that the offensive line was able to do. I think it's going to be a much different challenge going against Jacksonville. And to me, the interesting thing is, as we, most people will probably be listening to this podcast after that game happens. But Mike Zimmer said several times this past week about this game and the joint practices that the Vikings held against them are going to be especially beneficial because of the defense that Jacksonville plays. They play 5 or 6 teams this year that have similar schemes, and so what they're looking to do is learn what plays can work against them. After one joint practice, Cousins said, hey, I kind of learned that with this defense, it's a big check down. That's what you got to do because they're going to protect against a deep ball. And he did look better in the second practice, checking down, finding short passes to Thielen, to Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. All that stuff is going to be part of what they need to do against that. But eventually they've got to find some explosive plays against that. And you would think if you can check it down a few more times, that's going to tighten up the defense, and maybe you can exploit that behind them. But they weren't able to do that in this practice.
One of the reasons we're working with the Mississippi Pub is it's just a very short, easy drive from Vikings training camp. Training camp is coming to an end, but if you go out to the Vikings training camp just for a look-see or take a look at the museum, this is a good place to stop by for lunch, dinner, drinks, atmosphere, whatever you like. They also have live music a lot. Check out the MississippiPub.com for their schedule, and we'll keep you apprised of our schedule out here as well. Tell me about the injuries, including Everson Griffen's.
Well, Everson's Griffin's is another one of those weird injuries. Remember Taylor Heineke kicking the door?
Yeah.
Apparently, the way Everson Griffin got injured was running into a table, cutting open his leg, getting that infected, and being embarrassed about it, which, I think he should be. Because, well,
I can't remember. It's the kind of thing I would do. I got to admit. It's the kind of klutzy thing that I would do. Of course, I'm not a great athlete, so.
Yes, and that.
My legs are a little bit skinnier than Everson's as well.
Yeah, I just think fluke things happen. Shoot, I screwed up my back wrenching against a dock, so I guess I'm one to talk. But, Everson Griffin, I think he'll be back next week and practicing with them and probably play in the third preseason game. I guess it all depends on how that infection heals up. Pat Elflein, I am not as optimistic about. He keeps doing a little bit more every couple of days and trying to put a little bit of pressure on the shoulder, but he's not still, fully extending, putting a big impact on that shoulder. So I'm a little bit more concerned about that as time passes, and I don't see him doing things to really test that out. Mike Remmers, I think, will be coming back here soon. He's been working back in some portions of practice, but not full team. The one that I really want to see, and I'm not sure if we'll see him yet in this second preseason game or if it'll be the third or fourth one, Brandon Zylstra, the wide receiver, who went out with a hamstring injury.
Bad timing for him.
It is. That said, I haven't been super impressed with a lot of the guys that can offer him competition. Kendall Wright's been okay up and down, and he seems to be progressing where he's getting more comfortable with it. Stacy Coley, honestly, if I had to pick a guy that I think is the one that could create I'm sorry, not Stacy Coley, Caleb Jones. For some reason, I get those guys mixed up. Stacy Coley is also injured. Caleb Jones, to me, is a guy that is very intriguing. I was intrigued with him last training camp, and I think as he gets more comfortable with the offense, could be a guy to create separation and be what you really are looking for in a number 3 receiver. Laquan Treadwell is not a big separations guy. He's a big body you up and use that guy. The problem is Caleb Jones is suspended for the first 4 games.
Yep.
So that's why I think that Brandon Zylstra, if he can get back for preseason week 3, preseason week 4, and show out decently, I think he's got a good shot at actually making the 53-man roster.
Yeah, I just remember the way Prefer talked about him as a special teams guy and the way his body type fits into special teams. It made it sound like he had a really good shot.
And that also is why I'm really curious to see if Kendall Wright is able to extend things out, because he doesn't play special teams.
Right.
So, with the contract that they gave him, not all that impressive,
Right.
So I think he'll make the team, but I don't think he's a sure thing to make the team. And even if he does, I don't know if he's going to be a guy that's active on game days. So those are all kind of interesting things to watch at the receiver position.
Interesting. Let's get an update on Jerick McKinnon and a final. Well, actually, let's go to this first. Who do you think is going to be the third running back?
If I had to guess right now, maybe Rock Thomas, but I think it's super, super close between Rock Thomas, Mac Brown, and Mike Boone. Boone is more in the McKinnon mold, where I think he's much more of a pass catcher out of the backfield, not quite as big. Brown, I think, is more of a between the tackles runner who isn't as quick, isn't getting out in space as much, and he's been battling injuries this training camp too, which has cost him practice time. Whereas Rock Thomas is kind of in between that. He can be a good receiver out of the backfield, as we saw on a couple, one screen pass, one kind of little wheel route where he's uncovered, and then great running ability. As I talked in the last podcast, I loved what he was able to do with the patience that he had. So I don't by any means think it's a sure thing that it's Rock Thomas. I just think he kind of offers them the most versatility out of those young guys.
Let's get a final update from Tim on Jerick McKinnon and any other final thought he wants to offer. Thanks again to the Mississippi Pub, Beaver Island Brewing, Whizkids.tech, downtown Minneapolis company, Twill in the Edina Galleria, SeatGeek. Again, type in Vikings in your first order. You get $20 off your first order if you use the promo code Vikings. And Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent who works out of Champlin but can help you wherever you happen to be. Tell me about McKinnon and if there's anything else you want to add, Tim.
Well, I'll start out with a couple injuries that I did not get to. Josiah Price, who honestly, do you remember this practice way back when? I think it was Blake Elliott from St. John's that was a receiver, and he broke his leg in mini camp, I believe, possibly training camp, and Tice goes down to him and says, "Congratulations, kid, you just made the team." Which is so Tice, right? Because if that didn't happen, he probably wouldn't be drawing a paycheck, but instead he goes on injured reserve. Josiah Price, that's all I could think about when that injury happened, because I don't think he would have made the team except for that. I mean, he's on injured reserve, he's drawing a paycheck, and that's what I mean by making the team. Rashad Hill would be a little bit concerning out at right tackle, especially given how thin they are on the offensive line. So, should mention that, although I do believe by preseason week 3 he'll be back playing. McKinnon, it was announced the 49ers are not going to be playing him the rest of the preseason, trying to get him healed up. I don't remember if it was a calf or hamstring or something like that he was dealing with. But it's going to be interesting to see when we come to the regular season opener and the Vikings are playing the 49ers, how much of a role does Jerick McKinnon have, or are they still holding back on him a little bit? Because they wanted to make him their featured back. They wanted to make him the guy in San Francisco, and I just don't think he is that guy. I don't think his body is made to hold up for a full-time NFL running back role. So that's where I think we're at. I'm curious to see how much McKinnon is used.
And I'm really fascinated by this opener. A couple of years ago, everybody was really high on the Vikings. The 49ers were obviously going nowhere, and the Vikings went out to San Francisco and got their butts kicked.
Yes.
And now you see a very hyped, I think justifiably hyped, but a hyped Vikings team playing at home this season opener against the 49ers team that finished great last year.
Yeah.
And Garoppolo looked like a franchise quarterback. He looked like Montana at the end of last year. And I guess I should be suspicious of this matchup. I think the Vikings are going to crush them. I really do.
And that to me is going to be the intriguing thing, because I honestly haven't gone back yet and looked at who did San Francisco face when Garoppolo was.
They were bad teams mostly.
Yeah, and so when you have a defense like the Vikings, I mean, we saw how much Denver struggled in that opening drive, and even beyond just that opening drive, even with the second team defense that the Vikings had in there. So I think they're going to be able to get to Garoppolo some. I think they'll be able to shut down the 49ers running game. Look, they should play.
I will say, you look at this, the 49ers destroyed the Rams in the last game.
Okay.
They beat the Jaguars 44-33, and we know that the Jaguars have a really good defense.
Wow. Okay.
And they beat the Titans 25-23. They beat the Texans, who are a bad team. Beat the Bears by 1 point. So they finished with big blowout, high offensive output victories over the Rams and the Jaguars, 2 playoff teams. So it wasn't that fluky.
Yeah. The one that surprises me most there is how many points they put up against the Jaguars.
Yes.
Because I would not expect that after seeing that Jaguars defense. That is a rock-solid defense.
Absolutely. Thanks to Tim Yotter. Thanks to all of our sponsors and all of our listeners. We appreciate it. The network keeps growing, and we wouldn't be able to do it without our sponsors and our listeners. You can listen at talknorth.com, subscribe at iTunes, rate us at iTunes, listen on your favorite podcast app, or just follow us on social media and click the links. Again, you find Tim at Viking Update on Twitter. I'm at Suhan Strib. Thanks to Brandon Morton. We'll talk to you next week.